All right. Ghost of Yotei. Man, I recently, about 2 hours ago, got the platinum for the game on lethal difficulty. And this is my honest thoughts. Was the game, did it live up to the hype? Did it, was it good? Is it worth actually buying? And, well, I'm going to split it up into three categories. And then at the end, I will explain my thoughts on the pricing and when I think you should buy it, if you should buy it at all. All right, quick thing, you should definitely get it at some point. And the first thing we're going to start off with is the combat, the mechanics. And we're going to put it up to Tsushima's, which I thought was definitely buy it full price. You know, it was great. And the combat was amazing. I really liked being able to use different weapons, being able to use a spear, being able to use whatever the Kusarigama is, being able to use muskets and flint knocks and dual katanas and odachis. It was really fun. I liked the different weapon variety. I liked the different finishers. I liked the different one resolve moves that let you do different things. I liked all of it. In that sense. And yeah, it was great. The combat there are so many different ways you could handle each situation. You could smoke bomb and assassinate people while they're coughing out the smoke. You could use your little pocket sand and distract them. You could do all kinds of things, honestly. And I think that is probably the best part of the game is the combat. It's very fun and quite enjoying. The duels are fun. The duels let you pull out your bow and arrow. Don't know why you'd want to, but you can. Your musket, your smoke bombs, your Yumi. You can pull out anything, pretty much, into that. And they will let you use it. Atsu has no honor code like Jin in duels. All right. And then, while we're on the topic of combat, all of the duels were pretty good, outside of a few that I won't spoil for the story. But at some point, you know, the boss gets guns and it's a gank. Not really a gank fight. There's a guy outside the arena just shooting at you the whole time. And he's an absolute pain. I was not a fan of those. That was really the only bad boss fight in the game. And I'm not going to spoil names or anything, but there is a boss fight where the boss gets a gun. And then there's also another boss that will sometimes sneakily pull out his pistol and shoot you, and you don't really have time to dodge it. But other than those two bosses, all of it felt very fair and very balanced. Even the hardest boss in the game, according to most people, I thought was quite enjoyable. But I'm also a Souls player, so I'm probably considered a masochist. But that's its own little topic. But yeah. And then the side content. This is the other thing I think Ghost of Yotei did really good, and even better than Tsushima. Alright. I'm putting it up to the comparison of Ghost of Tsushima, mainly just because it's my closest comparison to the game, and then I'll also give my thoughts in comparing it to other games. Alright. So, the first thing is, there were like over 150 collectibles, is I want to say the number. But there were over 100 collectibles in Ghost of Yotei for the Platinum. It really didn't feel like it. There were only a few things that I was like, oh, now I have to go and find these and look up where they were. And that was like 2 things, and they took like 30 minutes. And the rest I just naturally explored on my own and enjoyed. The way they make you naturally discover it or buy maps and run around and find yellow birds to lead you to new areas is really, really good. I also think the side content focused more heavily on quality over quantity. Alright, in Ghost of Tsushima, there were over 50 fox dens, I think. Or 49. One of the two. Alright, and every time you'd just follow the fox, and some adventures were cool, others were really boring and would just get in the way because there'd be a Mongol patrol walking by. And in this one, there are only about 15 fox dens, and each fox den is guaranteed to be its own thing. Like, about the length of a longer fox den. It'll take you into a cool little cranny and all of that. And it's overall really, really good. And I think that's also how it is with the wolf dens. I think the wolf dens are also like that. You follow a wolf to a camp, you do a combat encounter, and the wolf gets stronger, and you kind of develop your bond to the wolf, and it's really, really cool. And on that note, I'm going to get into the side quests, which is a part of the side content. And I think the writing on these, the writing of the side content isn't great. I can admit it, it's not that good. However, it is better than Tsushima's. Tsushima, I had a script for a whole video essay on why all of the character tales sucked. I didn't actually record it, I didn't edit it, I didn't post it. It's still sitting there if I ever want to. And Yotei somewhat fixed that problem. The side content was very good. The quests were different, they were varied, and that was my biggest complaint about Tsushima, was they felt too copy-pasty. However, the one downside that Tsushima had, although it wasn't very good writing, was there was no big characters that appeared over and over in the side content. They'd only appear once or twice, and the writing wasn't all that good. Alright. So, for example, all of the senseis, Sensei Takahashi, and that lot. So the people who taught you your new weapons, they have like 2 missions around them, and they follow the same, you want to learn new weapon? Okay. Teaches you how to use new weapon, then you try new weapon on enemies, and then that's it. Then you come back after doing a task for them, and then they teach you secret art. Then you go help them fight more enemies. That's the simple way of putting it. And there's really no story to them. They're just kind of there. They have their own story, but it's never very deep, and it's never fully explored. In the same way that Tsushima tried. Keyword is tried. The endings, they butchered in almost every single one. And that was my entire complaint of Tsushima, was they butchered the endings. And in this game, they didn't really develop anybody, any big side character. But for the overall, like, day-to-day side quest, like some random guy on a road, they were pretty varied. And there were also fewer of them. Alright. And then I can also say the armor quests and, like, the tales of old that you have to go to the traveling musicians for, those writing was significantly improved. They were more tragic, they were a little bit longer, they were cooler. I'd overall say they were pretty good. Alright. And then, so overall I'd say, right now, Ghost of Yotei to Tsushima, Yotei wins combat. They're pretty tied. They're tied leaning Yotei on side content for me. Mainly because of the side quests. But I'd say I'd lean Yotei. So give it 2-0 to Yotei compared to Tsushima. And now, here's where Tsushima makes its comeback. The main story. Alright. The main story of Yotei was good. You can't say I didn't play it. I have stream VODs and, proof of me playing it. But I wasn't a fan of Atsu compared to Jin. Well, before we get into characters, let's talk about the overarching plot. Alright. Now, this is your spoiler warning for both Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotei. I will try and keep it broad. The footage is not spoilery, but this is your spoiler warning for both the stories, because I am kind of doing a deep dive into what I thought was good and what I thought was bad. Alright, so now I'm going to give you a few seconds to click off the video and save it for later, if you have not yet played it. Or, rather, I should have the timestamp on screen of when I, when I'm going to, when I'm going to essentially, explain if it's worth buying. Alright. And then, yeah. Alright, this is your final spoiler warning. Should be on screen. Alright. well, the main story of Ghost of Yotei is revenge bad. That's what it is in a nutshell. It gets more complex than that, but that's essentially what it is. It talks about how revenge is bad for you. And this has been explored numerous times, and it's repetitive. Alright, Sony has especially been a fan of it. Alright, but I won't get into that. I'm looking at you, Last of Us 2. However, it was Atsu's, well, better, let's stick on the plot for now. Alright, the overall plot was revenge is bad. You know, you think revenge will bring you peace, and it won't. And while, yes, this is probably true and, you know, a good plot point and all of that, it's not as unique as Ghost of Tsushima's story. I'd say they're both about the same. But Tsushima's story is much more unique. It delves into honor, and it delves into the first shinobi and going from samurai to shinobi for the sake of your home, and it delves a lot more into topics that aren't normally explored in games or movies. Alright, and that also kind of carries over into Jin versus Atsu. Atsu is very heavy focused on revenge, and slowly is like, but revenge is bad, and learns revenge is bad, and she should stop and, you know, care, and all of that. However, she never really clicked with me the same way Jin did. The way Atsu immediately knew how to assassinate people. Jin had to learn it from Yuna. Jin had to realize that he could not win without changing his tactics and giving up his code. Atsu could have won without ever changing her code or changing her tactics or changing the way she thinks. She could have just hyper-focused on Saito and won. And that shift of Jin, like, becoming more of a shinobi, having to give up, major plot spoilers for Tsushima right here, having to give up becoming his uncle's son and becoming the next Lord Shimura in order to save his home. And Atsu just wound up giving it up in the end because it wasn't what her family needed. And I think that really just didn't click the way it should have for me, and I definitely think the story and themes and Jin versus Atsu is overall lacking. Alright. And now I'm going to get into our side main characters. Alright, these are major story characters that are on the main character's side that teach them a lot of what they know. Alright. And for Atsu, this is Jubei, Oyuki, and Kiku. Alright. And while compared to Jin, which was Yuna, Taka, in my opinion, and then also Lord Shimura, ideally you could say he fights Jin in the end and like yeah. But I'd say he's more influential to Jin as a character and not necessarily a protagonist. Alright. In the traditional sense compared to Saito or Kutenkan. However, Jubei and Yuna are very similar. They teach, Atsu and Jin how to, slowly, the main lessons of the story. Yuna teaches Jin how to give up his honor in order to save his land. Jubei is one of the main catalysts for Atsu giving up revenge. However, those two are about a tie for me. I like both of them pretty equally, I'd say. However, when it really falls is the other side characters. Alright. Because when Taka compared to Oyuki, alright. Oyuki was the former kitsune who was there at the night of the burning tree. Alright. And this is, this is a big plot point and is another part of Atsu giving up revenge. However, Taka, a blacksmith, Yuna's brother, a friend of Jin's, who winds up being beheaded in Tsushima right before you go into Act 3, right before you retake Castle Shimura. And the way Taka sacrifices himself and the way he develops as somebody who, I want to fight these Mongols. And going from a blacksmith into essentially a wannabe warrior was very good. I quite enjoyed it. And I think the end was a very tragic one, but also one of the big drives that Jin had to get rid of the Khan, right? And then you have Oyuki, who I still think was not a bad character. Don't get me wrong, both of these games are really good. I'm just comparing story-wise. Yotei was not my favorite. All right. And then we have Kiku and Shimura, both the final catalysts of their part. Kiku is who Atsu takes care of at the end of the game, where she finally gives up revenge. And Shimura is who Jin defeats in order to fully become the ghost after he saved Tsushima. Alright, both of these were very influential. Alright. However, Lord Shimura was being built up. He was being built up as somebody Jin knew. Jin, slowly, he had to fight basically his father, essentially. Not his biological father, but the person who raised him for a very long time and defined who he was. And that is what, I believe is, what's it called? And that is part of why I believe Shimura was the better final straw compared to Kiku, because Kiku was only really built up in Act 2, and it was kind of a surprise that Kiku even existed. Right. It's Jubei's daughter. Alright. And that sense, and in that sense, it was we didn't really care as much about Kiku as we did Shimura, because Shimura was being slowly built up as not a villain, but someone who was in your way, essentially. And I think that was, that was what made him so good. That's what made the final fight so emotional, and what made it so important. And that's what really topped off the ending of Ghost of Tsushima. Had it ended at the Khan, it would not have been as good of a story as it ending at Lord Shimura. How it was both Shimura's punishment for raising Jin into a dishonorable shinobi, essentially. And that was what did it. That was the catalyst. And that, I think, Jin's side characters who developed who helped mold him into who he is, were just overall better than Yotei's. Alright. And also, at the benefit of that, Lord Shimura got the best, one of the most fire quotes, "You have no honor, and you are a slave to it." So, that's the most peak quote. Anyway, let me get back to my serious voice. And now we have the villains. Alright. The villains of Ghost of Yotei were about 6 people. 7, I guess. And, well, Tsushima, there was only one main villain. Khuten Khan. Alright. Yotei did have one main villain. It was Lord Saito. But Saito, the whole catalyst for the story, the Night of the Burning Tree, Saito just kind of killed them because the blacksmith, Atsu's father, deserted him. And it's okay, so... And he got really angry enough to kill the entire family. And that wasn't... he had no underlying motivation. His men were starving, but the blacksmith would not have helped all that much in my mind. All right. And then you have the Kutan Khan. And I think when you look at when Kutan Khan said to Jin, we're nearly the same, both not recognized into as valuable as we think we are. The way Kutan Khan, grandson of Genghis, has a million other family members to compete with for being powerful, while Jin is in the shadow of his uncle and being called dishonorable for saving the land. And they're both kind of trying to prove themselves. The Khan's trying to prove himself, and Jin is trying to save his home and prove himself that he can. And I think both of them are, I think the Khan is overall better. His motivations lie deeper beyond Saito's. Saito just wanted revenge. And that really just didn't make him hit nearly as hard, right? And the Khan was a little bit deeper in that regard, all right? And he also shaped Jin a lot more. Well, I wouldn't say a lot more, but changed who he became, gave him that motivation to become the shinobi on the same level as Atsu. I mean, look at Atsu. She was pinned to a tree by Lord Saito at the start of the game as a child. And that was what set in stone the whole game. The Khan killed Taka, motivated Jin. Killed all the samurai at Komada Beach, motivated Jin. Kicked Jin off a bridge, motivated him to learn different techniques in order to take him down. And that sparked Jin's growth and Jin's inner conflict about honor versus saving his home. So I think overall, the Khan just fit so much better into the story, in my eyes. All right, but that is enough glazing Tsushima and hating on Yotei. Although these are my honest opinions and my honest thoughts. However, then we got, finally, the price point. Ghost of Yotei, as of recording this, August 4th, 2026. It is still $70. I believe it is on sale right now on PlayStation for like $50 or $55. And I'd say $70 if you liked Tsushima or like samurai games or like action open world games, pick it up for $70. I don't think you would be mad. I don't think you'd be mad. I mean, I think it's a great game. I could definitely recommend it. And then I would also recommend this game lower if you aren't sure if you like it, if you've seen the gameplay, you've seen everything, you're kind of like, I don't know if I like this or not. Wait a couple years and then it'll go lower into like the $30, $40 range. Or try Tsushima, which is in the $30 or $40 range, and I regard it as very close equals to Yotei. All right. But otherwise, that's my three categories. It's 2-1 Yotei. Yotei is overall the better game, although Tsushima has a lot better story. And with that, those are my honest opinions on Ghost of Yotei after I platinumed the game on lethal difficulty. This is up as a podcast on the channel. My normal people who want long form can watch it. There's footage in the background. It's also on YouTube Music, so people can listen to it that way. But otherwise, I will catch you all in the next one with some more guides and my Ghost of Yotei Platinum video. You want to hear more of my thoughts or what my journey looks like? Catch that there. I'm going to try and have it up in about a month. Well, around a month. Somewhere in the next month. All right. But if you would like to see more, like, subscribe, please. You know, that'd be really cool. I'm only at 26 subs. Every sub makes me super happy and absolutely makes my day. So I will catch you all in the next one with some more, and it'll probably be Ghost of Yotei.